Donald Trump, PM Modi, of course, once again unveiled his vision of Make India Great Again, drawing parallels between MAGA and Viksit Bharat. He's, of course, highlighted this phrase inspired by Donald Trump's signature slogan, Make America Great Again. Addressing a joint press conference, PM Modi stated that the people of America are well aware of MAGA and the people of India are also moving towards Viksit Bharat 2047. Meanwhile, with the economic collaborations taking center stage, both leaders have decided to double the bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030, a very ambitious target. The prime focus of this is going to be energy, defense and technology cooperation. In fact, the leaders highlighted initiatives like the IMEEC, collaboration in space through ISRO and NASA, and strengthened supply chains for critical minerals. Meanwhile, let's in fact take you through the India-US bilateral trade since 2017, the exports and imports made to and by India. I have this graph open on my screen over here, requesting the team upstairs. You can see that flashing, but let's also make it slightly bigger so that our viewers can in fact take a look at the numbers there on the screen as well. Yes, right here, if you can adjust that a little bit, you can of course see on the top right the ambitious target of $500 billion by 2030. This is a very interesting number because currently we're somewhere around 129 billion US dollars. So a lot would be required to shore up the trade. But let's also take a look at India's exports and imports over the years. You can clearly see that India's exports, which we denoting, I beg your pardon, with the purple color over here, is much higher than our imports, meaning that India has a trade surplus with the United States of America. Here, of course, our exports as far as financial year 2017-18 is concerned, our exports stood at 47.9 billion and our imports also at 26.7 billion, taking our total trade at least up to 75 billion. Then it saw an increase in 2018-19, $52.4 billion exports, $35.5 billion imports. 19-20 financial year, we all remember COVID had of course hit the world economy. It had rattled all economies across the world. So you can see the slight dip, which is very indicative of the impact of COVID. Our bilateral trade, as far as exports are concerned, India's exports are concerned, stood at 40.3 billion US dollars, imports at 27.7. We once again saw a resurgence in 2020-21 with 51.64 billion US dollars of exports and 26.5 billion US dollars of imports, once again pegging the total bilateral trade figure to somewhere around 77 billion. And what's interesting is you can see the growth has been even higher in 2021-22 as soon as the economies recovered from the COVID setback. You can see the exports itself for 77.5 billion US dollars and India's imports stood at 38.8 billion US dollars. Similar figures can be spotted in 2022-23 where the exports stood at 78.54 billion US dollars and imports at 42.1 billion US dollars. In 2023-24 the trade was even higher. In fact, with the number recorded, our exports recorded at 87.28 billion and our imports at 42.2 billion. And meanwhile, 2024-25 financial year, that is coming to an end in April, we'll see 77.5 billion as of now and 42.2 billion imports as of now, taking the total to around 129 billion US dollars. Meanwhile, you can clearly see the difference over here between India's exports and India's imports is somewhere around 45 billion US dollars. This is of course something that US President Donald Trump has highlighted. He has of course stated that he will impose reciprocal tariffs in order to bring about an equilibrium to the sort of surplus that India does have at the moment. Trump does want to reduce the US's trade deficit that is in fact taking place at the moment. You can see those numbers on your screens. This is something that we have put together, of course, year by year comparison of how exactly India-US bilateral trade has burgeoned over the years. Of course, the 2030 target is something very, very ambitious. We have set the target at 500 billion US dollars. Right there, you can see. Look, one been put out. 500 billion US dollar is the target that has been set by both countries. What's interesting is that Trump is looking at India, of course, increasing the amount of imports from the United States of America. Trump is looking at exporting crude oil. He's also looking at defense exports, in particular as far as defense equipment is concerned. He's also highlighted the F-35 sale, though he has not given any sort of proper timeline. That is what he said for now. We also have with us Dr. Sharad Kohli, who is joining us via the phone line. Sir, thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to Newsx. This is, of course, a major decision that has been taken by both countries. Of course, the roadmap will be revealed very soon, but $500 billion is a very ambitious target to set by 2030. What do you think is required in order to facilitate this vision?
Good afternoon, Priya. Good afternoon to the viewers of Newsx. I think this will take a lot because it's $500 billion basically what we are looking at. At this moment, India is the 10th largest trading partner, and for India, America is the top trading partner. So to take this to the next level, I think President Trump has pretty much laid down the roadmap because the defense exports from America to India, they increase. Then because they are costly products, they are expensive products. If you're looking at F-35 and some missiles and other stuff, I think that is going to take a substantial chunk of the total export. Crude, of course, crude oil is also going to take major chunk. I think what is important from as a takeaway, which I find from the dialogue, is that President Trump is very clear that he is not very happy with the trade surplus with America. So he wants it to be a level playing field. Now, in order for $500 billion to materialize as a level playing field, India will have to push a lot of exports to America. For that, I think India will have to take the place of China, for that matter, to be able to, fill up that gap. And I think Make in India there, Priya, will play a big role, because Make in India initiative has to really catch up. We need to, brush up our manufacturing skills and manufacturing units, increase the capacity to make sure that we are able to match. Well, ideally, what President Trump wants is $500 billion, which means $250 billion from India, $250 billion from America, both ways. So right now we are nowhere near. I think we'll have to really catch up. Otherwise, $500 billion would be reached, but we'll land up in a trade deficit with America, with crude oil and defined imports from America, so which is definitely not required. I'm sure Prime Minister Modi is carrying this fact in his mind, that when he comes back home, he will have to give big push to the manufacturing. Services takes a lot of portion, which we already predominantly we are exporting IT-related services to America in a very substantial amount. But I think the push is required on merchandise, and I think Make in India is the way to go if we really want to make it as a level playing field for $250 billion each, both ways, Priya.
I'd like to thank you for joining us on the broadcast today, of course, sharing your perspective on this very, very crucial development, of course, a crucial outcome of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's meeting with US President Donald Trump. Meanwhile, viewers, that's all we have for now. We're dipping into a quick short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned on Newsx.